guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about my breastfeeding journey. So I just want to go back to the start now that Ava's 2 months. I just kind of want to give you an update on where we are and what we are doing. It is a question that I get a lot here and on Instagram, so I just kind of want to tell people what we are doing and how we are doing it. So as you may know, if you've been following my journey, my plan was to breastfeed. And if you looked at my labor and delivery story, which I'll have linked in the cards, you'll see that my birth didn't go, or Ava's birth didn't go as planned, and she was took to the neonatal unit. That was on a Tuesday. She was took to the neonatal unit. On Wednesday, I barely got to see her, and she was on IV fluids. On Wednesday night, I only had seen her twice, and at 11 or half 11 at night, I got a phone call from the neonatal unit, telling me that she is really upset, crying, and she needs to be fed. They were just wondering, can they give her a bottle? So at this time, nobody said to me that I could go upstairs and feed her. I didn't know anything about it because I was kind of in denial and I was out of sorts. I wasn't in touch with the situation. I was so separated from it because of the birth. So nobody said anything to me. And at the time, I was actually pumping while I was talking to this lady, and she was like, we need some sort of food for her. She is really crying really bad. I think she's really hungry, and I just broke down crying, and I'm like, I can't get anything out. I can't get any food out for her. I don't know what to do. I was just so upset, and in the end, she actually said to me, hold on, I'll come downstairs to you, because I was on the floor lower than the neonatal unit. So she comes down to me into the cubicle, and she was, now in fairness to her, she was extremely lovely to me. She did mention that I should be hand expressing, because there's no point pumping at this time, because I won't have milk, and then I'll only have colostrum, and even at that, it wouldn't come out with the pump and all this sort of stuff, and I didn't know anything. So what she said is that they'll hold off on Ava for the night, but tomorrow she really will need to be fed, and if I can't produce any milk, she's going to have to go and get a bottle. So the next morning, one of the nurses came down for me first thing in the morning. I think it was like 8 o'clock in the morning. She came down, so I went up to the neonatal unit into Ava, and the lady said, sit down there and we'll latch her on. So I took her and I tried to latch her on, and it wasn't really helping. The woman that was in the room tried to help me a little bit, but I feel like there wasn't much help there with that particular nurse woman. I think she's a nurse. I feel like it was kind of an inconvenience that I did want to breastfeed, and they just would have preferred that I had bottle fed her. So she kept pulling herself off, and she kept falling asleep, and so I was trying to touch her and feel her and poke her to try get her to suck at the breast, but she just wouldn't. So we changed her to the opposite side, and in total I think I did 15 minutes, but most of the time was spent me trying to get her to actually suck. And then the nurse put 3 different brands of formula in front of me and told me I had to pick one. I didn't know anything about formula, so I just picked a random one. And she gave it to me, and I fed her it. I fed her the amount that she told me I had to feed. So that's how it happened in the hospital, until we were there, that I would first latch her on, and spend most of my time trying to get her to actually suck, and then I would top her up with formula. After those feeds, I'd go back down to my ward and I'd get the breast pump and I would pump, but again there was nothing coming out. on that initial night, where the first lady on the Wednesday night, where I was breaking down crying for mainly the whole night, two midwives on the ward, on the postpartum ward, did come and show me how to hand express. So if you are going to have a baby, you plan to have a baby, you plan to breastfeed it, I would advise that you learn how to hand express. You'd learn stuff about cup feeding, and also there can be a tube. I didn't know anything about cup feeding, and I didn't know about tube, and I didn't know about donor milk. I didn't know about any of these things, and I also didn't know that there was a lactation consultant in the hospital that could have helped me. So I'm not saying that it's their fault that they didn't want to help me, but I'm taking the blame because I probably should have researched more on breastfeeding and alternative ways if the baby doesn't want to latch. So we got out of hospital, and then that's how it continued, that I was pumping, and I was then topping her up with bottles. My milk didn't come in until I had her on the Tuesday, and my milk came in on the Sunday night. So 5 days later it came in, and at that it was low. So that has mainly been how it's gone. I now just pump and we feed her. So, and unfortunately my supply has been getting less and less. I was using the Medela Symphony, but when you're pumping, you really have to pump 8 times in the day, and I just don't. Like, I try my best, but I could be out and I miss a session, or sometimes I just don't want to. I don't want to pull out my pump, pull out the things and do it. So the way we've kind of settled on it now, and how Ava gets fed now, is that she would get 2 bottles of breast milk a day, and it's probably around 6 ounces, which is 180 milliliters, in each of those bottles. So she'll get 2 of those a day, and then the rest is formula, the formula that we use. So breastfeeding has not gone as I wanted. I could have, there's so many things I could have done, but I didn't, and it was because those first 2 weeks I was depressed. I had baby blues. I was detached from the whole situation, and the way it worked out for the best for us, because I feel like I would have got postnatal depression if I had have just been breastfeeding her, because she would have relied so much on me, which sounds terrible. Obviously you want your baby to rely on you as the mother, but in that time bottle feeding was the way for me to go, so that Robert could feed her. Robert could take her at night, and I still love now that he can feed her, and he can do the knife feed, and so in a way it hasn't gone how I planned, but I am happy with the way it has gone. As I said, I had rented a Medela Symphony, and now I actually have bought a Spectra S2, and I pump every 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours. I would pump around 6 times, 5 to 6 times a day. It depends on what I'm doing. Each pumping I would only get 3 ounces, and that's from both breasts, as in 3 ounces total, 90 milliliters total. But it works for us. The morning pumps I get a lot more. I'd get 4, sometimes 5 ounces. As I said, it works for us. She's getting fed. She is getting breast milk every single day. She gets around 360 milliliters of breast milk a day, which is around 10, 12 ounces of breast milk a day. So I am happy with that she is getting some breast milk. So I just wanted to come on here today to explain how that has gone. But as I said, if you are planning to breastfeed and you have not yet had your baby, I would research it a lot more than I did. Learn about hand expressing, learn about cup feeding, learn about the tube feeding, make sure that you know your lactation consultant in a hospital, and make sure that you look up your lactation consultants in your area, look up breastfeeding groups in your area, because it is extremely tough. Everyone says it's so natural, and unfortunately a lot of babies don't want to latch on properly. They get an improper latch. So if you can get your lactation consultant to come to visit you in the hospital, that will help you a whole lot. So that's it. That's my video for today, guys. If you have any comments, leave them below. Don't forget I'm on Instagram if you want to follow me. My name will be down below and you can follow me on there. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. If you like it, give it a big old thumbs up, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.